The other scenario, which I think is more likely, the stock market continues to go down. We head to this pretty severe, extreme global recession. And we end up with bond yields declining and gold rallying, and I think Bitcoin will probably more go towards that path, because basically what's happening this year is people are recognizing that Bitcoin is one of the most significant leading indicators ever. Trades 24/7, it's no one's project or liability, and there's no central exchange controlling it. Trades on weekends, and by Monday morning you get a sense of what's going to be happening in the world with markets by Bitcoin. It's never really happened that way before, but it's been showing us risk off. Now I think it's transitioning the other way. So that's where Bitcoin is becoming clearly unique. I sense what's happening is there's bids below the market in Bitcoin and offers above in the stock market, but I think we're heading to one of the greatest reversions in history in terms of risk assets.
Last month, via a series of social media posts, Mike McGlone, a senior commodities strategist at Bloomberg Intelligence, predicted that Bitcoin would see one of the greatest bull markets in history in the second half of 2022. McGlone argued that the Federal Reserve would pivot, marking the end of the tightening cycle and creating a better growth environment for Bitcoin. He noted that the king crypto asset has always tended to outperform most assets. In his own words, July marks the steepest discount in Bitcoin history to its 100 and 200-week moving averages, with implications for it to recover. I see risk versus reward tilted favorably for one of the greatest bull markets in history, he stated in one of his posts. The senior market strategist has repeated similar sentiments in a recent interview with Cointelegraph. In his interview, McGlone discusses Bitcoin's performance during previous bull markets and what he believes the next one could look like for the world's biggest cryptocurrency by market cap. While he notes that Bitcoin has performed brilliantly during other bull markets, McGlone believes the next one could be the best one in the history of risk assets. In his interview, McGlone also discusses an amazing transition he envisions for Bitcoin and indicators that the crypto asset is about to have one of its best moments in history. We will now take you to Mike McGlone's interview. Please watch, like, and share this video. If you are a crypto investor or a prospective investor that wants to learn more about crypto market trends, then subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications so you never miss any of our regular uploads. Thanks, and enjoy the video.
Bitcoin has been, by definition, probably one of the greatest bull markets in history, and it's just backed up at the highest velocity to the greatest discount ever versus its 100-week, 50-week, 200-week moving averages. So it's pretty well discounted. What I see it's doing now is it's probably building a base around 20,000, similar to when it did around 5,000 at the end, at bottom in 2018 and 19. And the key thing we have to think about is, why is Bitcoin down? Now, the whole market's corrected a lot. It really got silly, speculative, expensive with all cryptos. And it's correcting now because the whole tide's going out. Remember, we've had one of the biggest corrections in the stock and bond market in my career, and I've been in the pits since the 80s. I've been in the business since the 80s. So the whole tide went out, Bitcoin and cryptos went down with the market, and now it's a question of which comes out ahead. And I see Bitcoin coming out ahead because I see it transitioning to be more of a risk-off asset like bonds and gold than less and less of a risk-on asset like the stock market. Bitcoin does what it normally does. It's going to recover from these levels. It's just a question of time. Now, if the Fed keeps hiking at the highest velocity, the greatest pace since it's basically since 1980, yeah, that's going to that's a sledgehammer for all risk assets. But I think in most scenarios, Bitcoin will do better. So let's look at the best case scenario. Let's say everything recovers, the stock bear market's over, and it starts to trickle higher. And that environment, cryptos, and most notably Bitcoin, most notably cryptos like the Bloomberg Galaxy Crypto Index, will outperform most assets. It continue to do that. That's what it has been doing. I think we're heading to one of the greatest reversions in history in terms of risk assets. Maybe 2022 might be similar to 1929. We see the global markets, the world, heading towards pretty severe recession, and most central banks, led by the Fed, are still tightening. So the great reversion of 2022 is something I've been speaking about since December of last year, because it's don't fight the Fed. The Fed is being aggressive, and they're becoming much more, they have been much more aggressive than most people anticipated. Just the 40 days between the June hike and the July hike was the highest, 150 basis points. That's the highest pace of hiking since Volcker in early 1980s. So that's the great reversion I'm speaking to, and we've had a pretty substantial correction in the stock market. We basically wiped out $25 trillion from global equities. crypto's wiped out maybe this year total of $1 trillion, a rounding error compared to what's happening globally. That's the great reversion. I think it's going to continue. Basically, the pendulum of risk assets swung way too far one way, and now it's swinging back the other way. Cryptos were a leading indicator, and they're the hottest, fastest horse in the race, the hottest markets. Now they're coming back. So what I see is happening is we're going to continue that mean reversion from prices of condos in Miami to the stock market, and the bond market will probably do well if we head towards deflationary recession. That's my call. Commodities should collapse. That's not profound. That's typically what they do. The Bloomberg Commodity Index dropped 20%. It's dropped 50% twice since 2008. I fully expect it again. Crude oil should collapse, and Bitcoin should come out ahead with gold and treasury bonds. That's my vision. That's my base case.
Whatever the scenario is, McGlone believes Bitcoin will perform better during the second half of the year. According to him, if there is a Fed pivot and monetary tightening stops, Bitcoin has a great chance of not only performing better than it has done in the first half of the year, but also outperforming other assets like it did in the past decade. On the other hand, if monetary tightening and the economic decline worsens, McGlone believes the result will very much be the same for Bitcoin because of its increasing demand and decreasing supply. Please listen as the senior Bloomberg market strategist speaks further about the coming bull market.
So the on-chain metrics are pretty positive. We've seen different addresses used, zero balances addresses. My colleague, Jamie Douglas-Coates, based in Singapore, has been digging into that. A lot more of it's more functional and anecdotal, and what I hear from inside scoop from people saying, well, okay, well, this is becoming global digital collateral, and it's probably greater risk to not have part of it. And we all know what's happening with supply. It's clearly declining. So that, to me, is the key thing. It's basically becoming competition for bonds and competition for gold. That's nothing new. It's continuing. It's just in continuing trends that every day that goes by that this space that doesn't fail becomes more legitimate. I've been saying those same things for years. So to me, now that we've backed up to the most significant discount almost ever in terms of a 200-week moving average, 100-week moving average, then I think that's going to be more responsive buyers. The key thing what's happening is the opposite is happening in the commodities. You look at commodities like crude oil, it's becoming redundant, and it bumped up. I look at that as that's an enduring bear market that got very expensive. It's coming back. Bitcoin's an enduring bull market that got very cheap. Expect reversion to favor Bitcoin versus things like commodities and crude oils. And to me, that's the key thing I think to expect in 2H. Bitcoin to continue to recover, not trade much below 20,000. Basically, it could obviously get hammered like it did around 5,000. It bottomed there 3, but it's basically built a base around 5,000 starting in 2018. And it to come out ahead, and eventually at some point, I fully expect it's on trajectory to get to $100,000. It's just a question of time. Because I don't think the adoption is going to do anything but increase, and we know supply can't do anything but decline.
As McGlone points out in his interview, the Bitcoin buying spree continues. Despite the economic uncertainties and market volatility, more and more investors are seeing this period as the generational buying opportunity it is. Last week, US-based crypto firm Coinbase announced it had teamed up with BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, to bring cryptocurrency trading to wealthy clients. On-chain data also shows a spike in the portion of the overall Bitcoin turning illiquid. The illiquid supply shock ratio metric was created by on-chain analyst Willy Woo and William Clement, lead insights analyst at Blockware. It increases when more Bitcoin is being taken out of circulation or becoming illiquid. This creates more demand than supply and often causes a price surge. The bottom line is that hodlers have been on a buying spree through it all, and it is all going to pay off soon. With even a slight easing from the macro end, Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market could see some pretty decent price gains within the coming weeks. What do you think about Mike McGlone's interview? Please drop your comments and observations in the comment section below. Also, ensure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks for watching.